Sukista Studios. And we would like to welcome Dr. Ankur Naran, the AVP of Data Science Apparel Global. Please all of you give a big round of applause to our speakers for the Fireside Chat.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. So this will be an interesting chat because we have a co-founder and CEO of a cool gaming company who's using all the latest tech and can give a lot of his experiences. Personally, I have a lot of experience in building games and core technology in games, primarily on the AI, generative AI side, and then all the other technology kind of integration with blockchain and so forth. So we'll start with Talal, giving his experience at a high level of how does he, what has he gone through in this gaming journey, and then we'll dive into details. And we want it to be a fun, interactive session, so please ping at any point of time if you have questions, and we'll keep asking questions also. So just keep it fun. Yeah, Talal, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Talal Habib. I'm the founder and CEO of Sukista Studio, which is a gaming development studio. We've been in this space since 2019. We started as a service provider for game publishers such as Homa Games, Voodoo, Apploven, Tap Nations. So we were doing prototypes for them as a hyper-casual games. And then in 2022, we participated in a hackathon that was organized by Fractal.is, which is a platform owned by Justin Kan, the co-founder of Twitch, and David Ward, the co-founder of Google Drive. And we were the community vote winner, actually. What they wanted is a utility for their NFTs that they have in the blockchain space. And we came up with, like, each NFT was represented with a character inside the game, an action role-playing game, action RPG. So we won the hackathon. We did it in a prototype in 3 weeks, and we've been building this game since then.
Super. So let me give a brief overview of my journey. So essentially, my overall game journey started, so I've been consulting across multiple kind of verticals, and essentially setting up AI function in different verticals. So one of the verticals that I ended up participating, apart from EdTech, which is a core one that I kind of started in 2021, was in gaming. So there, essentially, what I did was, started working on metaverse. So how many people here are aware of the metaverse in gaming aspect? Super. So I think people have a good awareness here. So essentially, the fundamental task that I kind of picked up essentially is to build 2D and 3D models in the metaverse. And essentially, we started with 2D. We started with aspects about giving the identity to players in a 2D setup, and then moving it to 3D. And over time, we built a lot of interesting functionality in that space. So I'll go into that in more detail, but so that's kind of my kind of overall thing in the gaming side. And then we integrated with the blockchain aspects, and then we actually built 3D games and figured out how that essentially works out, and how the player interact, how they have the identity, and how we kind of measure their performance and their interaction and kind of interest and the work they do on the games, and how that can leverage into potentially P2E models and so forth. So let me jump back to Talal here. So from your perspective, what are the key high-level trends in gaming that you see are prevalent right now, and which are kind of poised to go further in the future?
Yes, as I mentioned, the speed up process that's happening in terms of technology, it opens the doors for too many opportunities to gamify. For example, when we talk about the VR and AR, the virtual reality and the augmented reality, we've seen with the Vision Pro what's happening at the moment. We would never imagine that somebody is wearing a VR or AR set and walking out in the street. So, with the speed, the technology is what's happening in the space. There will be more advanced VR and AR sets, for example, for the people to use. It will be much easier. That's one aspect of it. There are other technologies such as the cloud gaming, for example. People will not use they don't have to use like a very strong GPU in order to play the game in terms of artwork, for example. The cloud gaming is advancing as well, and it will have the capabilities in the future that anybody can play a very high quality games, AAA games on their mobile even, and using like a subscription base instead of purchasing like a computer with $5,000. That's also what's happening. And the most important thing in my opinion is the Web3 gaming, which is the blockchain gaming, because the utilization of the blockchain, if we think about it, is the dream of the Web2 gamers actually. Imagine that most of the gamers, they purchase their skins, for example, inside the game, which is only cosmetics, and they spend a lot of money, but actually they don't own these things. If they decided to for example, sell their account, they will be banned by the game provider. But the blockchain has the opportunity, gets the opportunity for players to own their digital assets. So whatever they have in game, they can own it, and they can even make money out of these assets. For example, let's say there's a game that you started with a character. The character is like a level 1 character, and then you play the game for free. You grind the game, and whenever you max, the character level. Some players, they don't want to wait all this time. So, I want to purchase, let's say, the character immediately at the moment. So there will be like in-game marketplaces, so people they can, purchase the max character. So whoever who started playing the character, now he can make money. And this is this is new technology. It wasn't available. There is a new economy that has been created by utilizing the blockchain. For example, all these digital assets. Let's say the creator who created these assets, whatever a transaction was made between these two. For example, I purchased the NFT or the digital assets, and I sold it to somebody else. This transaction, the creator can get a royalty fees out of this, which is a new economy that wasn't exist even without the technology of the blockchain. So the blockchain gaming is coming very fast in my opinion, but of course there were challenges, which is like onboarding Web2 gamers. This is a huge problem in this space because most of the gamers, they don't want to go through the centralized exchanges, for example, and doing the KYC in order to purchase certain token, then go to the decentralized exchange. So it's a hassle, and the adoption won't happen. And in the past, since last year, the many platforms have been advanced, and there are some platforms they offer like software development kits and APIs that can be integrated directly into the game, so everything can happen in game. Even a non-custodial wallet can be created in game without the player having any knowledge about what's going on. Even everything has has been done, let's say, behind the scene, in the background and in the back end. So that's how we can get adoption and adoption in the blockchain gaming in general.
Great. I think that's a great topic. So one question for the audience here: which was the first game that used Web3 gaming or blockchains and to reach $1 billion valuation during COVID times? And it kind of showed how this P2E models can actually lead to some very interesting value proposition for the people to earn money, as well as for the company which is running the game actually to have $1 billion valuation and make a fundamental business model over here. Any thoughts, if you guys have any? Okay, so let me give that answer. So that is Axie Infinity. So these guys were actually having players who actually lost their jobs and were basically finding it very difficult to find a source of living. And these were people somewhere on the South Asia part of stuff, right? Some countries over there. And they basically, as Talal mentioned, so essentially you play this Axie kind of a character, you have a pet, you train the pet, you make it play games. And as you do the work on the platform, which is the work is basically you play more, you engage more, the platform rewards you, because underneath they are powered by something called NFTs, non-fungible tokens, as Talal also mentioned. How many people are aware of non-fungible tokens here? Super. So typically what happens is for the whole audience here, normally we have these blockchain tokens which have same value, right? So you have blockchain, you have XRP from multiple other tokens also over there. So essentially what happens is that token has uniform value across everyone, and that changes based on the marketplace and so forth. What happens is for NFTs you have these specialized assets which have their own value. So a particular hat, which is a gaming asset, especially kind of worn, which is a special kind of attributes. You can make some fancy attributes all in that virtual world, or which has been kind of worn by some famous character even within the game, that would have a much higher value and it would kind of climb in the value. So what can happen is that you have different assets, or you can gain more assets by playing more, right? Or even winning, not only just winning more but playing more, and then you can trade off that asset. When you trade off that asset, you can get more assets, you can actually get real money. The real money then, as Talal was mentioning, goes through some of these exchanges, and you need to have those interfaces set up. But if you have, as these guys also did, Axie Infinity, they essentially showed that common people with very, very less of IT background, they were just playing mobile games, can actually make some serious money, and this company therefore can make $1 billion. So that is the point at which this play to earn models got very popular in the gaming space, and that happened all during the COVID timeframe. So this is an evolution that has happened. So Web3 gaming from that point onwards has become fairly interesting. It has that kind of material effort and engagement kind of perspective, which is more, I would say, fundamental than random rise of some tokens value, or just NFTs which were rising at some point of time in 2021 and making like a huge buzz in the market of some $100 million and so forth. So those were like more of fluffy kind of a buzz over happening. This has a more value add because here the players are involved, there's a strong community, there's actually an engagement by the people, and there's a value add that is being created, and engagement created for the players, and fundamental value add for the business. So that's where this blockchain system has gotten really strong. I think the other thing to think about is also the generative abilities, I would say, Dalal. So what has been your experience in using AI models and these things in all your
Yes, I mean, since we are, we talked about a lot today about the artificial intelligence. So there are two parts of the AI usage in the gaming industry. The first one is as a developer, as a game developer. The AI, technology has improved a lot, of course, as we discussed too many times today, actually. And what we use it in two ways. For example, we have the most consuming time when making a game is the artwork, especially if you have realistic artwork or the complex artwork, for example. That would take a lot of time. So you heard some Call of Duty or PUBG or these games took them 4 or 5 years just to develop one game, because the artwork take a lot of time. So based on my experience, I have to tell a little story what we had. We did a 3D model map that represent the GCC actually, Burj Al Arab, for example, in Dubai, Kuwait Towers from Kuwait, and all these very well-known cultural aspects in the game. So what we did, we tried one AI model. We just took a picture from the internet for Burj Al Arab, and that was maybe nine months ago actually. So we just put the model, and in half an hour or 45 minutes, a complete 3D model was created, and you can export the model into any 3D file. So we were amazed. It was very accurate. It was untextured for sure. I mean, the artist just he textured the whole building and put all the necessary colors. And usually this would take a week just to do the building, and it was done in 45 minutes. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect, sometimes the artist, he get inspired, for example, from mid-journey, let's say. It's from texting to image, to do the image. So he had some character in his mind, so he just texts how the character would look like, and then it will give inspiration, let's say. So it was very beneficial to have the new characters as well. So we can use it just to get inspired of what the model should look like, for example, and also to create from 2D to 3D image, which saves a lot of time, especially if building even environments or characters inside the game, which is very time consuming usually. And the second part of the code is the gamers themselves, the players. So we call it the NPC, which is the non-player character, for example. Because of the AI, usually it's AI in the games, but because the AI is very smart at the moment, so it will even detect the player's behavior, right? For example, if you are in a game, let's say you were a bully inside the game, so the NPCs will bully you even inside the game. If you are a nice guy playing the game, the NPC will be nice with you. So it will be more interactive, it will be more engaging, which is amazing actually, especially in this aspect of it. Like the environment will know how you behave inside the game and what your actions. Even if, for example, if you're facing enemies, if you always attacking the enemies from this angle, for example, next time they know that you are attacking from this angle, so it will be more challenging, even more immersive with the players. So that's the AI aspect of it. I think it's amazing. It's amazing technology, and there is before actually too many even companies and publishers, they will if you use AI in gaming, that it's not a good game, or you didn't put that effort. But there were one game just published like a few months ago, Palworld, because most of the game was done by AI, and the game is just booming. I mean, it has like millions and tens of millions of downloads in Steam. So the people realize, and the company realize that it's a must, and we always have to adapt to technology, in my opinion.
Super. I think that gives a good detailed stuff on how AI and generative AI is helping nowadays in gaming. So let me add some numbers over here. So can someone tell me, what will the future market of generative AI just in gaming? Any guesses? Today, I can give you a hint. Today it is like 900 million. So let's say by 2030, what is the projection of these numbers? How far can this number go? Just generative AI in gaming, that's it. What's the market of that?
1 trillion.
That will be something that Nvidia would start. I mean, Nvidia would spawn off a separate company, but that's an interesting guess. Any other thoughts? Okay, so it will basically go towards $7 to $10 billion. Billion dollars, not trillion. For trillion, you need some Nvidia kind of a magic, some hardware magic and so forth. But so $7 billion just for generative AI in gaming, right? So the way this kind of it has gone like totally into the gaming development side, the performance of how the product, as we were discussing in the morning session, the whole product performance side, that also you can leverage AI. Obviously the core function side of the organization, that is anyway there, but the core aspect of generating the characters, right, generating the 3D model of the characters, that also is now getting slowly possible with generative AI. So something like, as Talal was giving an example of the Burj Al Arab, one photo or 2-3 photos, you can create a full 3D model. The mesh, without the texture, maybe today now you can in fact create the texture as well and put it on the 3D model. So there are standard like maps that you can create, and then they can kind of wrap around the mesh to give the exact 3D view of that Burj Al Arab, or even the famous monuments that we were discussing. But if you look at a more complex kind of characters, so the things that we have tried out is, for example, generating a 3D camel basis a single or couple of photos. That in fact comes out to be fairly interesting as well. The interesting challenge that even the big guys, which means OpenAI, Google and Microsoft DeepMinds are trying out is, given image input and some text, can I generate a production quality 3D model? That they have not been able to solve. For a 3D designer, that's a great thing, because quote unquote, they don't have to think of changing the way they do work so easily, but obviously they have started using the tools for the 3D models and so forth. So what we actually did was that we used stable diffusion models, and we took some of the images of what can we develop in accessories. So we took a photo of a cap, right? So we built 2D models, again using generative AI. We used text to convert to 2D models of the cap. We got some images in. We fed those images in a stable diffusion model. These are like standard models to convert or generate images or complex things, right? For text, for example, you have large language models. For images and all, you have these stable diffusion models, and they are foundation versions of it, which means trained on large data, large number of parameters and so forth. So what we found out that things like, so what we have from NVIDIA, we have something called Get 3D, which generates, all different kinds of, for example, a toy aeroplane, a toy, plant in a pot, a toy car and stuff like that, and some interesting variations of it which you could actually you can think of using in your game. But again, you have to train the model and fine tune the model for those specific accessories. So they do not, give that quality on a generic sense, right? So for each and every accessory you would do that. I'm talking slightly, 9 months back. There's a Get 3D model from NVIDIA that if you check out right now. So what we trained internally essentially was this model which would essentially kind of first do the accessories for us. So we had these accessory kind of images and we started with a cap and we found that we could do interesting variations of the cap which a 3D designer could stamp it and say, this improved my productivity. It is not so bad that I have to rework it and therefore my whole effort, you are messing my whole effort. I would have done it by scratch and we'd be able to do better job than do this, right? And then we also, for example, produced a camel and some kind of variations. But production quality, clothes generation, right, and different deformations of it with a person kind of wearing it and so forth, that is hard. So that is a whole one area where it has a big impact. It has started improving things. Now another question for all of you is that, as Dalal mentioned, the initial efforts for creating the games was very high. So does someone have an idea of how much time it took GTA game development? What is the size of the team and how many years did they take to produce the GTA game? Let's say the first version. Any guesses? How many years? 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, 4 years? Any thoughts? 5 years, okay. You are close. How about the size of the team to create all the assets, digital assets in that game? I can give some examples. 200, 500,000. Any guesses? 200, 500,000. How many people team? So let me tell you. So this 1,000 people team took 3 years to build GTA, Grand Theft Auto, right? The game that became so popular. Obviously, they got their ROI for all that effort. Imagine the amount of money and time spent over there. It was just amazing effort, right? Now, if you do with generative AI, 2D models, 3D models, adapting the texture, updating the colors, putting logos, accessories and so forth, you could do that in 1 year with less than 100 people, right? So that is the exponential jump in productivity that you see, and that is actual cost optimization on the table for the company who's actually building such games. So that is the scale at which things have improved. The other aspect, Talal kind of referred to as non-player characters. So they are kind of adjusting to how you play. There are other aspects to which is procedural content generation, which means that the actual level of the game, right, that and the actual kind of scenes in which you are traversing, they can also adapt basis how the game is proceeding. So that kind of customization by segment, customization maybe by segment of one and so forth, that is also happening because these models are so good that you can generate so many variations of that. Especially if it is a 2D game, right now, you could build a 2D game within a week. So it has become so kind of interesting over there. And essentially, the whole writing of the code itself, you have these coding models that you see from Copilot, there's so many specialized coding models for games. It can write Python code, it will tell you how to write it. So we have seen people, with core background in programming, but not a whole lot of programming, let's say in React and so forth, produce these games very fast. So that is a productivity that generative AI brings end to end for a game development cycle, right? So maybe 3D games take some time, but for 2D games, it has become much more easier. So you have these procedural content generation, you have these non-player characters, right? So these are the trends in generative AI where it's making the whole thing fairly interesting and improving the productivity. So Dalal, in general, from a market standpoint, how do you see the overall markets expanding for gaming?
Yes, in my opinion, the social gaming will expand a lot. We heard about the metaverse. So the metaverse doesn't have to be like wearing a VR set, for example. It's how people socializing inside the game. That will be huge in the future, in my opinion, because even with the integration of the blockchain technology, there can be like interoperability between games, which is never happened before. For example, I have a character in one game, I can use the same character in another game because I can move the assets around through the transaction through the blockchain. And the same thing will happen with the metaverses that we're going to have. There will be collaborations with the platforms that they have their metaverses. People can be socialized. There can be even content creation inside, these type of games, and it will be more immersive and more engaging. And the connection between people will be different. We saw how social media is working. Imagine that it will be more immersive inside the game, and people can socially interact. And it's a human psychology by the end of the day. For example, imagine that you need to dress nicer inside the metaverse, right? It's a digital, but anyways, you want to look nice. So all of this economy and all of these things that people can be able to purchase their assets, their digital assets, inside these social games will have a great impact. And of course, we should take into consideration the ethics behind this as well, because these type of games can be addictive to many people. So there has to be some kind of moderation of usage, for example, and they have to be even educating people that they don't spend a lot of time in this. It will be mentally, even they will have mental problem. Too many gamers actually have these type of things. So of course awareness has to be spread all over the place about these type of aspects. You can enjoy it, and at the same time you can don't overuse it, because it will have some mental issues in the future, and nobody wants that.
Super. Thanks, Anand. That was a great understanding on that part. So one question is, what is the current gaming market worldwide? Any numbers in? I can use some hints. 200 billion, 400 billion, 500 billion. What would be a number close to? Any guesses? 200 billion. Any hands? Show of hands. 400 billion, 500 billion. Okay. So today it is $285 billion, right? And do you know what is the number it's poised to grow to in just the next 5-6 years, 2030? Any guesses? 1 trillion? There was a guy with 1 trillion for generative AI. Do you think the gaming market can hit 1 trillion?
Absolutely, because blockchain is already at 1 trillion. So gaming, it is an ecosystem. As he said, metaverse and gaming can be combined together. I perfectly believe gaming industry is going to be more than 1 trillion, because games are addictive. Any business which is addictive has a good market value.
Good. That's a great reasoning.
That's a very good answer.
So the numbers projected so far in the market are around 650 to 700 billion instead of a trillion, but who knows, maybe it goes faster than what is projected. So the technologies are catching on, generative AI is improving each and every day. Maybe this number was considering that, was not considering that. Maybe the production of games, the adaptation of real-time adaptation of games evolves so much, and the business model evolves so much that it grows that. Interesting part is that APAC is a great area where things are improving. Here GCC is a great area where things are improving. There's a formal effort by the governments, both from UAE and Saudi Arabia, to promote such games, especially esports. As you know, esports is esports arena where you have like thousands of people coming and watching the smartest players playing games, winning prizes and so forth. That is a very big market, and the gaming market is beating the hell out of movies and other forms of entertainment market. That is a surprising fact that you would love to appreciate, and the people who are in that space, the core industry, I'm sure they are obviously inventing a lot amount of money, and the way the market grows, especially the top stars. But that is how powerful this market is going to become.
Yes, in addition to that, I would like also to add that education can be gamified, and I think it will come in the near future, whether it's through like the VR, for example, or the AR sets, or even the education itself can be gamified, and people can be rewarded in game, for example. They can learn and enjoy at the same time, which in my opinion, that will be huge also in the future. Yeah, I mean, gaming as it's a very huge market. It's surpassing the movies and all these these industries. So the future is going to be even more huge than what is right now, especially with the emergence of the AI, which is making games become even easier and easier, and as well as the emergence of the XR, the mixed reality, and the VR, virtual and augmented reality, with all these technologies. So the future is bright, as I said, for gaming.
Super, super. And I think education is not just kids education as we typically might think of. It is anything that encompasses any aspect of education. For example, there was a startup that was thinking of doing personal financial management and use it in a gaming style, right? So it's a purely for adults like us, looking at our personal financial management can be gamified at learning for us. So then you actually learn it, you experience it, and make some money out of it, or learn quite a bit of it, and then actually give it to community as well, a social experience also. So in any kind of learning experience, gamification can be a fundamental value add. The next topic I want to divert, Talal, is essentially on business models. What business models do you see have worked? What business models have not worked? What are the challenges? How do you see the business models evolving in the gaming industry?
Yeah, in the gaming industry, to be honest, specifically in the blockchain gaming, the play to earn business model, too many games tried to adapt what Axie Infinity did actually in the beginning, but most of them failed because it was unsustainable economically. We're talking, it's very hard to maintain liquidity when people trying to dump the token, whatever they earn, in order to get cash. So that's why it's a little bit shifting at the moment through it's a free to play, as well as it will have like in-app purchases similar to all the Web2 gaming at the moment, and this can be huge in the future, especially when the onboarding Web2 gamers will be like as seamless as possible, and too many platforms are doing that at the moment. So you can even just download the game and log in with your social, and that's it. A wallet is there, everything is there, all the exchanges should be done in the background. That's not only for gaming, to be honest. This is to adapt the adoption of a blockchain in general in all kinds of industry, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's anything. Most of the people, it's very hard actually in the beginning. And if you are not enthusiast about the blockchain, about this technology, it's going to be very hard to learn everything. And and most of the people, they don't want to go through all these things and tasks and learn. They want something like easy, especially if we're talking like B2C businesses. So I think, yeah, the best model is to have it like a free to play, and then having the ability to make money through the exchanges and the transaction that have. I mean, even you can rent a character inside the game. You have a max character, and then you have a competitive gameplay, like in the esports, let's say. You can even rent your character for the weekend. Let's say the competitions is in the weekend. You can even rent your character, and you can make money out of it. So in this case, even investor can get involved in gaming, because they can invest, they can spend a lot of money in order to get all these max character, and they will rent them to the people who doesn't have the money, let's say, or just they're good players, they want to use it competitively, so even they can rent. So all of these wasn't happening, so the technology is amazing actually. So people need to be more aware about the technology, and it's our job to educate the people of the advantages of utilizing these kind of technologies.
Super. I think the renting of character is a great example, all enabled by blockchain gaming. So I would put it as a history of evolution. So initially, we had pretty much subscription-based games. We had kind of freemium kind of models. We had real money gaming. Real money gaming works very well in certain economies, and we have seen huge successes over there. Basically, it's like 4 people playing a casual game or an interesting game, put in some money. The winner takes, let's say, 80-90%. The platform takes 10%, 10-15%. Right? So it's a very kind of you have those high rollers or kind of high performance players which you can promote, and other players come in, and you kind of make the game evolve in a certain way, so that, or your set of games on your platform, so that you can promote more participation from the players. They engage, when they win, they earn money. or when they lose, they kind of actually end up losing money, right? But if you're a good player, you actually make money. So what is happening is that here you see people which either already have money or can play well, they only will have high engagement. That's a limitation in this model. What blockchain is bringing in is play to earn model. There, even if let's say I'm a moderate player, right? I'm not the smartest. I'm definitely not in that crowd of high performance players. But still, if I'm putting the effort, if I'm passionate about it, I can actually make some good money. And that's where play to earn model comes in, right? So the genesis of this fundamentally was, obviously it was conceptualized many years back, maybe a few decades back, maybe a couple of decades back, or when the whole blockchain system started kind of materializing with the blockchain paper from Satoshi and so forth. But the Axie Infinity thing that happened and the way they showed, actually they showed that people had fundamentally very low money, some people made money, they had the rent model. So actually that worked out really well for people. So the thing that came out is that this blockchain based play to earn model helps you build an economy in the gaming environment. So it's a full economy. You have people who have money, people who need money, people who work hard. You can rent stuff. So there's someone who gives money, someone who takes money. You have the whole economy, and because of NFTs, you can further boost the economy by having this asset which appreciates over time, right? So it makes the whole thing very interesting. It makes the whole thing, it's from business perspective, it is fundamental high, very, very high value, touching billions of dollars. For any player who's dedicated, who wants to make money, he can actually make, it doesn't need to be a kind of a top star performer or even in that segment, right? The only challenge here is, yeah, please.
What are your views on operating this kind of tokenomics in crypto averse
Crypto?
in crypto averse markets? So where like India is not
Yes.
very crypto friendly. So
Yes.
why should we even discuss this for a market like India? Like
Yes, so I fully agree to that. So there are certain markets, especially in India, who actually have both limitations which means multiple challenges in terms of regulations. So in terms of the crypto averse markets, the regulations have not been friendly. In fact, many times, in fact twice I have seen in my own last 20 years, is basically even just the outside of gaming, the typical crypto companies just operating on the exchanges and their interfaces, they have tried out and they have been quote unquote banned to kind of minimize or totally wipe it out. So in those markets it can be tricky, right? The other thing essentially has been the recent kind of imposition of GST on even the real money gaming platforms. So people who are not even doing the gambling based games, it's more skill based games, they are treated as kind of on par with the real true gambling based games, and therefore even the real money gaming is kind of discouraged. So these are kind of two business models that won't survive in those markets really that well at all, right? But if you come outside of this kind of zone, if you come to GCC over here, you look at US, you look at UK, you look at EU, there are no such kind of really detracting regulations which will kind of quote unquote mess around with your business model or will force you to change your business model to totally something else. So I fully agree with you. For those kind of markets, it's tricky. You'll have to look at other kind of business models that succeed. However, there are many other markets where things will work fine, and actually they are flourishing really well. As for example, a general APAC outside these regulatory zones, EU, US, you see these games are really thriving, and we have examples.
Yeah, but as well, that's what I meant in the beginning. That the user doesn't have to interact with the blockchain at all. So if every transaction happened through a credit card, for example, but in the back end, the blockchain will be implemented. I mean, the game itself, the platform itself, have the blockchain advantages and the blockchain technology behind it. But as a user, when you interact, you don't have to go to any centralized exchange or crypto.
Yeah.
So you can just directly use your credit card, and it will make the transaction as an in-app purchase.
But
You
still need like a coin offering on the blockchain.
Yeah. So actually, I think the way I know his question well because I personally witnessed that phenomenon twice in the Indian market.
Even if you use
it's not. So
See,
you
the
can't
whole
even.
point of the blockchain is to
Yeah.
use self-governed cryptocurrency. See, if you're using credit card, you're still going through bank, and then you're going to pay bank charges, right?
Yeah.
But when you, let's say, purchase cryptocurrency inside a particular blockchain, then the transactions henceforth don't need to go through a bank. They can happen peer-to-peer. So it saves a lot of money and then the network just collects gas fees. So if if Epic Games, for example, has their own layer one blockchain and they have an ICO on that, then they can actually transact within the layer one itself without having to keep going, and then the user can then take that money out when they want to go back to their base currency.
So it's not exactly. It's actually the thing is that it is not an adoption issue that we solve with the way you mentioned. It is actually the whole government regulations. So behind the scenes also you can't have a crypto token working in your game if your game is
I mean maybe as an, let's say if it's a game in India, I mean the developer itself, but if it's as a user, I mean as like a user in India, let's say,
yes,
when he interacts with the game, like the game publisher, let's say, or the game providers in the US, for
yes.
example. So they are doing their part in the back end. But as a user, is it is there a problem using that?
As a user also, I think there are, I mean, you will have to operate outside, you are anyway operating from US at the whole company, but as a subscriber from India, again, you will have to have hacks to participate in those games. So it is not straightforward.
If you're going from a regulated currency to a cryptocurrency, that's where the problem happens. If you're going from a regulated currency to let's say, like in case of Roblox, right? Roblox has their own coins,
Yes.
which are not cryptocurrencies, right? So it's just a verbiage issue, right? What you call a crypto coin and what you call just a Web2 token. So that's why these guys have not gone into crypto, because that kind of goes out of their control, and they would rather have people spend their own, like Fortnite has their own currency within the Fortnite network. They've not implemented blockchain in their gaming system because they said we just don't find the need to, right? And that comes to your point where interoperability is the future for something like that. But till then, these guys don't really care whether they're offering crypto coins or they're offering their own coins. But in the event that they do offer crypto coins, that's where the challenges also come into play, because let's say that I'm a gamer, I have cryptocurrency on Ethereum, but someone's running a game on say Polkadot, right? My cryptocurrency is not transferable from Ethereum to Polkadot, or that interoperability does not exist. And so in order for me to go to Polkadot, I have to come out of Ethereum, so go into US dollars or go into dirhams, and then go back into Polkadot in order to make that transaction happen. And then in crypto markets like in crypto averse markets like India, that transaction is just not allowed. And not just India, there are a few other markets in the world who don't have the ability, like Argentina, for example. They don't allow it because the government is really scared that they're going to lose value which they've lost anyways. So
they're also concerned about a lot of fraud happening. People like illegal money is getting.
Maybe we should wait for the CBDC, right? I mean, whenever they have the digital,
so they do,
similar
right?
to what like digital dirham we were having in Dubai, and digital riyal, for example, in Saudi Arabia. So that will be blockchain integrated.
Yeah.
But it's an official currency. It's not even a crypto, right?
Yeah, but it's crypto because once you start dealing in CBDCs, you don't need the bank. I mean, in that case, the Reserve Bank, the federal bank, like RBI, for example, in India, runs the e-rupee, which is a CBDC offering, right?
Yes.
So now, in that case, you don't need to go through ideally, you should not want to go through the bank, but they want you to, in India, they still want you to go through the bank for CBDC because they spend so much time and so much money on building a banking infrastructure that they're not ready to just let it go or coexist with a independent, crypto infrastructure. And I think that's the problem. That's why the government in the US has come with the Bitcoin ETF, because they want to ensure that they are not, they're included in the transaction game when it comes to all of this.
Yeah. I think there are these multiple dimensions of issues which are kind of which are challenging some of these highly regulated markets, and that's the reason why the regulations are taking a huge bit of time. It's like more than 10-15 years now. So, but yeah, I think so for those markets it's hard. You have to figure out some other traditional models outside of these two core models, But yeah, there are lots of geographies outside these core regulated markets, as you also mentioning, where some of these business models actually are thriving really well. So great. I think any other thoughts, Talal, you have on the?
No, I think we will conclude if there's any kind of questions that you need to ask, whether about blockchain, about gaming in general. So yes, yeah, go ahead.
Personally, good interface. I like it for your website. This is your website.
Yeah, this is the website.
Where you host these games?
Excuse me.
Where you host them?
The games actually, what we did in the beginning, we were just providing services to game publishers, right? So we do the games, we do the prototypes, we do the games. They do go through all kind of metrics, the KPIs and CPIs and all these type of things. Whether if the game is a success, then they will publish the game under their name actually, usually.
Because
So
in this region, like from telecom operator, we are facing this problem that like either most games are hosted in London, so you should have a very good latency over there, or most of them are going to Bahrain here. Right? So I don't know how this region, Bahrain and AWS, I don't know how this region will increase and how most gaming will be hosted here, so I could have good latency and good performance.
yeah, increase in what? Could you just
Latency, the delay.
Latency.
latency. Okay. I think in the gaming in general, especially in the region, it's going to be huge, especially the investment in Saudi Arabia. I mean, like Savi, which is one of the the owned government company. They have like $38 billion to invest in gaming. They already purchased Scopely, which is a game publisher in the US, for almost $5 billion. And they already invested in a one Chinese agency for esport, $265 million, I think. So they have, they have a huge, investment specifically in the region, and also I think in Dubai and Abu Dhabi as well. They are huge in gaming. I mean, too many gaming companies from Europe and they are even moving to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia and to the region in general. And when we talk about Bahrain is crypto friendly already. It's regulated and everything is. They have RAIN. It's like a centralized exchange already. You can exchange crypto. So Bahrain is regulated. It's one of the companies. Even Binance are officially registered in Bahrain actually.
Yeah, I think from the latency perspective, if you have a good cloud installation, right, even with AWS, and you have good caching, kind of distributed caching enabled in the cloud, you can actually give the latencies which make sense.
Yeah, but this is still challenging here,
Sorry?
So this is still challenging here, especially in Saudi Arabia, because they don't have AWS. Google just came right now, maybe last month. Huawei Cloud just came, by the way. So all the major traffic either is going to Bahrain, AWS, or maybe in Oman Exchange they're building.
Yeah, but I'm sure the way the government is aggressive on NEOM, and we had a gentleman here who was head of Alpharis Group and so forth. The way they are pushing the technology, within 6 months you will see these companies, jumping.
Yeah, even NEOM, I think they are integrating Web3 actually. They're integrating blockchain in NEOM.
So Saudi Arabia is big time pushing on esports formally, as UAE itself is also. So esports is getting pushed big time. So as these environments develop further, in fact these are the two companies in the top countries in the top 15 nations which have massive adoption from adults, like 21%, 9% respectively, and so forth. So I'm not surprised that these obstacles that you mentioned should go away within this year. But yeah, it's not there. I mean that's kind of an immediate challenge about performance or latency, but it should come across fairly fast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Any other thoughts, feedback? Happy to discuss offline as well. Or if you want to bounce off a question right now, that would be great as well. Okay.
I think
So
we shall conclude. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And hopefully, if you need anything, of course, offline we can discuss any type of questions or issues.
Yeah. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everyone. It has been a great pleasure.
Yes. Thank you very much.